Okay, so now I'm going to talk about offensive actions in cockroaches, copper and cows. These are actions that you carry out basically by attacking other players or the federales, and you can carry them out anywhere where you can operate. I'm not going to talk about combat at this stage, so some of the actions won't be very well fleshed out really, but this should be clear later when we do cover combat. So on this list, the first couple of actions are always cause combat, or don't do anything. And they're attack a town and search a wilderness area for an enemy base and attack it if you find it. So if the enemy's in a town, you know where to find them, you go and attack them. If they're in the wilderness, you have to look for them first. Those will be more fleshed out under combat. The next action is called secure an industry. Securing an industry means that you're sending your people out into the wilderness where there is an industry and telling everyone who's now in charge and who they're going to be paying taxes to, which is you, of course. This can lead to combat if the industry is already garrisoned, but if it's not, you just do it, and the consequence of the action is to garrison the industry, and in future you'll get taxes from it. So if we look at our map again with Senor Villa here in the wilderness, he can operate in any of those 5 areas linked to his base. Yes, 5 into his base by the trails. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's industry in these 3. This one he already has control of the industry, so there's no point securing that. This one is controlled by Orozco. So if he wants to try and secure that industry, it will lead to a combat with Orozco, which will be covered later. But if he does succeed in the combat, the consequence is the same as for the normal action, which you could carry out here, where there's nobody getting in his way, and he just places a control marker. If he attacked Orozco's garrison here and was successful, he'd replace that marker with one of his own. Right. The next action I'll come back to in a minute. So the next action on this almost identical play sheet is to appropriate an industry you've already secured, or return an appropriated industry to secure status. Appropriating is the game term for seizing the actual control of the industry and replacing the workers there with your own workers and directly running the industry for the revolution, as it was called. So the previous owners are probably, were often shot, or escorted through the border. You're more or less expected to appropriate Mexican industry, unless you have a political reason not to, and the US will get very upset if you try to appropriate any of their industry, or if you appropriate any of their industry. If you appropriate an industry, instead of paying taxes, you generate cubes of goods every turn, which are worth more than tax revenue. Goods sell for $20 locally, or $40 if you export them, compared to $10 of tax revenue. When you appropriate an industry, you mark it with one of these markers, as Orozco's base is marked here. There's not base, industry. So this leads to the next action, which is to appropriate an industry somebody else has appropriated. This is the same action as securing really, except that once an industry has become appropriated, as it says here, once it's been appropriated, it will stay that way unless it is reversed with the previous action. So in general, I don't see people unappropriating, whatever the word is, industries very often, but it might happen occasionally. But otherwise, once an industry has become appropriated, whenever it changes hands, it retains that status. So over here, if we had attacked this garrison to take control of the industry, we would have actually taken it over in an appropriated state rather than a secured state. Our next action is to loot a town that you control. So to loot a town you control, you have to control it. You can't just loot any old towns. And it represents not just looting, but more, in fact, extortion and forced loans and buying things with revolutionary script you've just printed on your printing press with the ink still wet, which isn't generally as valuable as actual hard dollars, so it comes across as theft to the other parties very often. When you When you loot a town, you do what it says on the chart. Showing the town rather than the chart. Roll a d6 plus d6 per wealth in the town, gain $10 per point in the total. So going back to the town that I was prematurely showing you, Casa Grande here, which is owned by Orozco, controlled by Orozco, with his base in it as well. If he chooses to loot it, he will roll 1 dice for this marker, plus 1 dice base, and take $10 per point. So 2d6 times $10, 2d6 times 10 gold coins, in other words. This is quite a reasonable amount of money if you roll well, but the consequences of looting are that you lose 1 support, both because the locals are fed up with you, and because some of your forces will go home when they've successfully looted the place because they've got all the stuff they really wanted out of the revolution. And also you remove 1 wealth marker from the town, so that the next person to loot it will get less. There's less stuff available for them to seize, or people are less willing to be extorted. This isn't a brilliant action unless there are a couple of wealth markers or more in a town, because of the loss of support and the fact that you've got honest work as an option instead. But it can be very lucrative, particularly if you've got very low support and it's a very rich town. The final action here is subvert a party garrison and quit the party. Here we're talking about political parties, not just any old hootenanny. Subverting a party garrison, as it says here, you swap the garrison for one of your own. The party is assumed to kick you out, but the party leader can override that because the party leaders can do what they like. This is a way to leave a party that you're not getting on with and get something out of it, rather than just head off into the wilderness with your tail between your legs. You can do it in a slightly more spectacular way. Again, the leader can override it because, like I said, leaders are dictators. And similarly, if all the members of a party on a map agree to something, then they can effectively do it, do the internal party stuff, because there's no one else really to police them. So you could just agree to recover all party garrisons and convert them into personal garrisons if everyone on a map agrees. If people start disagreeing, then it's, the party's starting to fall apart at that point, and it's awkward. Anyway, that's all of the offensive actions. They'll make more sense, they'll be clarified how they actually really work when I talk about combat for the first few, but hopefully the rest of them are quite clear. Okay, next it's the free actions.